On November 8th, 1974, Stephen and Kate would meet up at a local restaurant in Murray, Utah for a blind date. They met up, shook hands, and went inside to get a table. Drinks were served, and they ordered their meals and began eating. Right away, both of them could tell that the date was not going well. There was a very mild physical attraction, conversation was stale, and neither one of them were really having a good time. Near the end of the meal, Stephen asked for the check and paid. Kate thanked him for dinner, and they both awkwardly shared some niceties as they began to leave the restaurant. After a brief hug and a second before parting ways, Stephen, having nothing to lose at this point, said that he was heading up to Provo Canyon because there was a new moon that evening and he knew a really good hiking trail to an overlook to see it. He knew it was a long shot, but he asked Kate if she wanted to join him. She quite obviously should have said no, but she didn't. She too was very interested in celestial events, so against her better judgment, she agreed. Kate began to second-guess her decision as they rode in Stephen's car to the parking lot of the trailhead that they would be visiting that evening. It was already dark, and she just met this man an hour ago. However, with the stress of the first date off of their shoulders, they both began to loosen up and have some nice conversation and started to have fun. The excitement of the adventure ahead had cured their awkwardness. When they pulled into the parking lot, they got out and started walking to the trail that was under a canopy of trees. As they walked down the trail quietly, Kate immediately started to feel a sense of dread. She remained quiet about her feeling as Steve had just invited her on this date and she had agreed to come. And so they continued walking. But the sense of dread that she was feeling never went away. It continually got worse to the point where she wasn't experiencing anything other than fear. Stephen would then trip, but he wouldn't fall. His other foot would land on something and he would maintain his balance. But what his foot was standing on didn't feel right. It wasn't hard, but it wasn't soft, and his foot did not sit on it flat either. He immediately turned and looked at Kate, and without a word, they both immediately turned heel and headed back to the car at a fast pace. Turns out, Stephen was having the same overwhelming feeling of dread. When they made it back to Stephen's car, they put it in gear and flew out of the parking lot, headed back to town. They were both overwhelmed with relief, and at some point, they just started laughing. Glad to be out of there, they questioned, what were they feeling back there? Ghosts? A bear? Bigfoot? Whatever it was scared them so badly that they decided not to see the moon that evening and just go home. Sometime later in 1979, that awkward couple would be married. And as Kate finished making the Waldorf salad for her and Stephen, she brought it to the couch so that they could enjoy their dinner while watching their favorite true crime TV show. The interviewer asked the interviewee if he'd ever almost gotten caught. He told a story about a time that he was in Provo Canyon, disposing of the body of a young girl that he had just murdered, and then a couple came walking down the same path. He quietly watched them from the bushes as the man stepped on the arm of the body that he was there to hide. He said they never saw me, but as soon as he stepped on her arm, he knew something was wrong, and they both got out of there quick. From Linda Ann Healy in 1974 to 12-year-old Kimberly Leach in 1979, there were at least 20 victims in total. Kimberly's body would be stuffed under an abandoned pigsty in the Swanee River State Park in Florida before the killer left a note carved into a stone pillar for future generations to read. Ted Bundy was here. Ted Bundy was put to death by electric chair in Florida on January 24, 1989. I quote, "I am the most cold-hearted son of a bitch you will ever meet. I don't feel guilty for anything. I feel sorry for people who feel guilt. Rest in peace."